Hey guys, how are you? This is the third time I'm trying this with headphones on. It's my first time with headphones on. So I just want to make sure that you can hear me well. And if you are new to my lives, post a 1 below. If you are an oldie but goodie, post a 2 below. And message me if you have any questions or concerns. Definitely start getting involved so that we can all help each other navigate this crazy IEP process. So my name's Raven Woods, and I am a disability and IEP expert. I'm going to go into that in a second, so stay with me. And I help parents navigate this crazy system. I give them the step-by-step blueprint and how to do this in the most effective and best way they can with as crazy as it can get, if that makes any sense. So the IEP process is crazy, it's frustrating, it's overwhelming, it's stressful, it's taxing, it wears on your emotions, and it's extremely frustrating in the sense that you just want to pull your hair out. And I get it. And I'm totally messed up with you, and I want to address that actually today. I am so screwed up today. I was up till 3:30 in the morning. Yeah, I'm that crazy person that does that. I think they purposely email me Monday nights, because if you don't recall, go listen to my video from last week. I was ranting and raving about the crap that's going on. And then the week before that, we addressed identification, evaluation, and diagnosis, which was amazing. So if you haven't watched that, go back and watch that. That is your first step to this whole process. So you have to start there. I want to clarify something really quick. I was on another group, which is amazing, and a issue kind of went on where parents were giving their input, which is awesome, but some of the input was incorrect. So in the first part, when you start your IEP, okay, you do the identification, evaluation, and diagnosis. Just because your child, and I clarified this in the video, just because your child has a diagnosis, keyword diagnosis, does not mean that they are entitled to an IEP. They are entitled to an IEP if they have a disability. So if their diagnosis is a disability, then they are entitled to an IEP. But if they have just a diagnosis, they are not. Does that make sense? If you have any questions, post below. So a lot of parents were saying that, so it was getting misconstrued, and I want to clarify that so that you guys know and what is right and what is wrong. Okay? So my title was, I'm messed up too. Yeah, I got problems too. So in the beginning, I introduced myself, I said what I did, and I help parents navigate this whole IEP process step by step, right? So how do I do that if I'm messed up too? Well, I've always lived by, you can't teach something you haven't been through. Let me give you an example. Have you ever gone to the gym and you take a workout class, and no offense, because I was 300 pounds at one time, I will show pictures later, and you take a class and the person's overweight, not so much in shape, you're not so much wanting to follow them like you would somebody thinner. However, what if that person that wasn't so much in shape had the education, and little did you know, they lost 100 pounds versus the thinner one who you think is awesome and is in shape and you want to be her. The person who's been there, done that, has so much more information for you to live by, and steps and tips and tricks, and the key to what you need to do to go through that same process. The person, I always, no offense to anybody here, but if you're shaped like Barbie and you're trying to get like Barbie, but Barbie has always been Barbie, You're not going to learn anything there. As much knowledge as they may have, I have a ton of knowledge, but if I haven't been through the trenches of what I teach, then I feel like I don't have substance. Does that make sense? So you got to have some substance and some oomph to teach something in a very healthful, productive, and effective way. So here's the issue I'm going through. So the school system seems to email me on Mondays. That's what they did last week. That's what they did yesterday. Then I'm up all night because I'm that crazy woman who I'm going to respond to them. And it's on, you know? And so then I start the email at 11 a.m. I don't finish till almost 4 because I'm busy writing out of anger. Then I erase it, then I put it back. And then I'm one that I always put supporting evidence on my emails. Okay, and I'm going to teach you this later, and I also teach it in my class, in my course. What you have to pay attention to is what you say. And remember what I've been saying. I think I say it every video. If it's not in writing, it never, ever happens. Ever. They will not admit something you discussed if it's something that doesn't benefit them. So I want to make that very clear. So my IEP was the 28th of August. It was amazing. Skylar, I don't think I need to push any more services at this point because she's where she really needs to be once this IEP is signed. The issue was with reading. The reading specialist was completely incompetent in so many ways, and I was floored at how she responded to me, as was the executive director of special education. Later, I let them know that I recorded the whole conversation, and then I uploaded it to Rev to have it transcripted, which I highly advise you to do. Depending on your state's rules, laws, and regulations, sometimes you have to tell them, sometimes you don't. It is respectful to tell them, but I kind of did it last minute because I just had a gut feeling that something wasn't going to go right, and boy, was I right. So because reading was increased due to the negligence of this reading specialist, who I believe has been fired and is no longer at this school, I don't know that for a fact because they don't tell you, but she's no longer at that school. And it's unfortunate because my child is now suffering because of that. Reading is important, and she needs to be progressing and have academic success with reading versus staying at a standstill. So I was extremely frustrated with this, and I'm still in limbo as to, do I make a report, a complaint, do process? You know, it's all those things going through my head. But that's one thing you really have to take into consideration, and I'm going to go into that in a second, so stay with me. The frustrating part is the school system will say something in one email and then twist it into something else in another email. And so I go back and forth on emails. I keep them in a folder, and so then I refer back to them as to, okay, well, in this email on such and such date, you said this. In this email, you said this. And in this email, you're saying this. What is it? You know, if there's inconsistency across the board, it creates a lot of frustration. And what it is they start somewhere, depending on how you act, they then take different steps. And yesterday, their email was an attachment letter from the school system. And they changed all kinds of wording and all kinds of stuff. And they kind of throw it back on you versus take responsibility for themselves. And I've noticed that through the 12 years I've been going through this. And it's extremely heart-wrenching. It's extremely frustrating with the fact that as a parent, all I want you to do is take responsibility for your actions, rectify it, be aware of it for the next time, and don't let it happen again. It's like with our kids, you know, we say, no, you can't do that. If you do it again, you're going to be punished. Say they get punished. Okay, hopefully the punishment is their change and they're not going to hopefully do it again. And if they do, there's consequences for that. And the same thing with the school system. You have to hold them accountable. You cannot back down when it comes to holding them accountable. Times you do want to back down is when it's going to benefit your child. Let me give you an example. So they proposed, my daughter's in school all day, 7:30 to 2:30. She's in middle school, 8th grade. And then she's sent to her ABA center where she gets 2 hours of ABA after school. And so she gets her PT, speech, OT, all that in school. Well, because the reading specialist is no longer there, they proposed 1 hour after school, and then that 1 hour of ABA be done in school. My issue with that is Skylar has behavior issues that heighten with drastic change in her daily schedule, like a lot of children with special needs and autism do. So my main concern is, number one, her safety, number two, self-inflicting behaviors, and number three, is that behavior going to affect her learning? So I disagreed at first. But I did call the state and ask their thoughts and suggestions, and they suggested to try it, because why let her go without therapy, have to make up all this time during Christmas break and all this other stuff, which is also going to affect her. So I gave in. I said, okay, I'm going to give it a try. So there are times you want to negotiate for the benefit of your child. That does not mean back down to holding the school accountable. You must do that at all times. Keep everything in writing. Write every 2 days. Repeat what you said. I wrote an email on such and such date. I have not heard anything. I wrote an email on such and such date. I have not heard anything. After 3 times request an IEP, you then have to meet within 30 calendar days. And typically they'll then respond. And then at that time you can decide if you want to hold that IEP meeting and if it's necessary, or if you don't. One thing you need to know too is, say it's difficult for you to get out of the house. You are allowed to hold, after asking the school system, to hold a IEP meeting on a Zoom, which Zoom is a meeting-based video service, where kind of like Skype, but it's made for meetings, and you can have everybody there. You see them in different windows, and when people talk, the windows highlight and come up. And it's an excellent way as another way to have an IEP if you can't get there. And if it's agreed by all, you are allowed to do that. There are other means to IEPs than actually physically showing up. I think it's more productive to show up, but if that ever happens, you now know that that is an option. So going back to, I got problems too. These are issues I'm going through right now, and I did contact the state because, in all honesty, I'm over making complaints. Now, it is the same complaint, so there would be different rectification, being that it is the same complaint. When you get the same complaint over and over, the different consequences are different. And so I'm trying to navigate where I'm going to go with that. And I'm going to have in my course, and also have in my resources on my website, different places you can go if you have complaints or if you need more information. You know, I always tell people you can go and you can read all this information, but at a certain point it becomes this jumbled mess and you just can't even read it correctly. So that's why sometimes it's easiest to have somebody to help and support you. And believe me, lawyers are expensive, I know. So if you can be walked step by step through the process, I'm open to helping you if you are. So I'm dealing with this. It's extremely frustrating. If you can't tell, my eyes are bloodshot because I've been up. But, you know, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to make it happen. And, you know, they have to get that IEP to me, which the state said they're sending home with Skylar today. So we're going back on goals. I'm very strict with goals. I have goals be approached in a 4-month increment, like I've said in my other lives. You don't want to do it on a yearly basis because too much time then passes and your child could get behind. and you wouldn't know about it until a year later. So schedule your IEPs every 4 months, and then you're able to look through goals, see if you need to request some testing and evaluations. You're able to address any issues that have come up that you're able to wait until the next IEP. You're able to ask questions of service providers and other administrators as to what could benefit your child in another way. These are things you've noticed, and kind of start compromising as to what's going on there. And don't take no for an answer. If you've done your homework and you've done your research as to this is something that would benefit your child, and specifically if things are peer reviewed and scientifically based research, you're going to win that argument. If you know how to present it right, that is going to be your key. Presenting it right with the right verbiage, which I do teach, and is very hard to learn, because as parents, we want to say, I want what's best for my child. You need to do all these things for my child because that's awesome, and it's going to work, and it's just the best possible thing you could offer my child. And we want to do that, and it comes naturally out of our mouths, but we have to be very cautious of this because that does not work in the educational system, especially with IEPs. Go back to my other videos and watch when I talk about identification, evaluation, and diagnosis. That's key. Again, that's step 1. Go back to last week's and listen to where I talk about who should be at your IEP. And if that becomes a difficulty, then I will then teach you other steps and means to go about that. And then today we talked about that I got problems too, you know, and I want you to know that, because me having issues too will help you navigate and not make the same mistakes, or know how to navigate it if it comes up with you. But I can guarantee you that if you are a parent and deal with the IEP process, you're going to come into contact and experience where the school system totally changes what they initially said. And you're like questioning yourself, and you're like, what just happened? And you can't understand what to do next. And, you know, a book that's really good is Emotions to Advocacy, which is why it takes me so long to do an email, because at first I'm like, and then I have to calm down and change things. That doesn't mean it doesn't come across very direct and to the point. I'm very much direct and to the point. You have to be. And you have to clarify if they say something that is incorrect. You need to say, no, that's not correct, and this is why. And you have to let that be known. So when they say, we don't agree with this, or that's not what happened, or they try to say something that you did that you really didn't do, you have to make sure you clarify that in writing. So as you can see, I have my own stuff too. And every time I come across something that I'm dealing with, I want to be transparent with you. So hopefully it teaches you something that I made a mistake with, or an issue that arose that I want you to know about, so that you, again, don't make the same mistakes, or know also how to navigate, how to handle that. Post below any issues that maybe you have had where the school system has changed things up, or they changed your words and it wasn't at all what you had said, where they kind of backstabbed you, so to speak. That's definitely happened to me, where they said one thing and in person they said this, that, and the other, and then all of a sudden I get this email and I'm like, I didn't even know what to say. It was so different from what our conversation was, and it's kind of shocking, and kind of takes you several steps back to understand what just happened. And in all honesty, you're not going to understand. It's not something that is just going to be something, hopefully, that you accept. Don't accept it and address it. So hopefully you got something out of this. Know that you have to write emails, rectify what you've done wrong, work with the school system if you need to give in, and especially if it's in the benefit of your child, to see if it's going to work. You can always change it. And if your child has behavior issues or things that may come up, and by law, the school has to make changes if the child is not adjusting well, there's behavior issues that are affecting learning and so forth. They have to change it. Okay, so make sure you take notes as to what behavior issues you see, and talk to your child if you can, if they're old enough and they have conversations. And a lot of us parents just have that gut instinct of what's up, and you can't, push that aside. You have to always take that and hold on to it and try to navigate, okay, what's causing this? What's triggering it? What needs to happen to change what triggered it? And what is the solution for the problem? The trigger, the action, and solution. So your child's triggered by whatever, change in schedule, another child, whatever. Then there's an action, which is how they're reacting. Are they having behavior issues? Are they acting out and cussing or yelling or any of that, which is also behavior issues? Or are they crying a lot? Are they sad? Whatever the case may be, there's an action to a trigger. Then what you need to figure out as a parent and get really good at this is what can be the solution of this. I do this a lot. It is something I help parents navigate through because sometimes it's just a thought process they're not used to. And it's important because then that's how you present to the school. My child's doing this. This is the action because of this. What do we need to do to create a solution so this does not happen? Okay? So have a good day. I will see you next Tuesday. I'm really trying to go on twice a week, but things have been so busy with creating my course for all of you. And I'm super excited, and I really hope you are too. It's when I take you step by step from the beginning process all the way to the end. We navigate different issues that may come up, and you get a great big huge workbook and tons of bonuses with it so that you can jot down all your thoughts and ideas based off the training and course. And it's something that you'll have forever. You'll be able to go back to. And once it's out, I'm always going to be updating it based off the new laws and regulations. So it'll start out as an amazing course that I'm putting a ton of effort into because I want you to get all the information you can possibly need and utilize to take the steps to really rock your child's IEP. That doesn't mean you're not going to have issues. It just means that you're going to know what to do, you're going to be in the right mindset, and you're going to be ready to go get it and advocate for your child and get what's needed and appropriate for them. So I'm always going to be updating it. I'm always going to be creating videos and going live, answering your questions. Make sure you jump over to my group and become part of the community where parents help each other and we all navigate the system and really focus on getting you the IEP that you need, helping answer your questions of concerns, what behavior issues is your child having, and all that fun stuff. So make sure to hop over to the group and be a part of it. And again, post below any questions and concerns you have. And I hope to talk to you soon, and I hope to get involved with all of you. I know many of you have personal messaged me, and I appreciate that. But just hop onto the site too, the page, and also jump over to the group so that your questions are put out there because you're not the only one going through them. You're really not. Feel free to still personal message me, but also post your issues on the page and on the group so that other parents can feel your frustration and overwhelm too. and offer what they've been going through, and maybe you could even help each other. So have a good day, and I will talk to you next Tuesday, if not before. Bye-bye.